Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live it. In the history of the NFL, there have only been 66 players that could say they started at quarterback in a Super Bowl. Of course, some historic names in there. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas, Dan Marino, John Elway, Patrick Mahomes, Len Dawson. I could keep going and going. So many Hall of Fame players, but there were also some nondescript ones. So in this video, I'm going to name who I believe are the 8 most nondescript starting quarterbacks in Super Bowl history. So I'll name them in order from when they started, from earliest to most recent. I didn't include any recent guys, the Jimmy G's, the Jared Goffs, guys like Nick Foles, although Nick Foles I don't think will ever be nondescript because he brought Philly their first Super Bowl win. But these guys, again, did not have Hall of Fame careers. But again, they are just one of 66 to be a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl. And these guys actually went 1-7 combined in their Super Bowl appearance. So we'll go over who got the win. But let's start with Joe Cap. Now the kids today like saying that's Cap. But back in the late 60s, if a young Vikings fan said, "Who's that quarterback?" the father might say, "That's Cap." All right, terrible joke. But anyhow, Cap led the Vikings to the Super Bowl during the 1969 season, where they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 23-7. Cap went 12-1 as a starter that season. He played just one more season the following year with the Boston Patriots. He went 1-9 through 3 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Just 40 touchdowns and 64 interceptions in his career. Next, let's go with Vince Ferragamo. Ferragamo played most of his career with the Rams in 1979. He became the starter late as he started just 5 games that season, but the Rams were able to make it all the way to the Super Bowl where they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The following season, he did throw 30 touchdowns, but for his career, just 76 touchdowns to 91 interceptions. Next, let's go with David Woodley of the Miami Dolphins. Guided the Dolphins to the Super Bowl in the 1982 season, where they lost to the Washington Redskins. Woodley started 9 games that season. I believe that was the shortened season, 9-game season. Threw just 5 touchdowns that season, but still helped guide the Dolphins to the Super Bowl, where they lost. For his 6-year career, he had a nice record as a starting quarterback, 34-18-1, but just 48 touchdown passes compared to 63 interceptions. Next, let's go with Tony Eason. Helped lead the Patriots to the Super Bowl in the 1985 season. That season went 6-4 as a starter with just 11 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Still was good enough to help lead him to the Super Bowl. Did well in that postseason, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, but they got destroyed by arguably the best defense of all time, the Chicago Bears. The next season he did well, going 10-4, 19 touchdowns, but for his career, just 61 touchdown passes, 51 interceptions. Next, let's go with Stan Humphries. Chargers made the Super Bowl in the 1994 season. Unfortunately, in that Super Bowl, they got slaughtered by the San Francisco 49ers. He had a couple good seasons, 2 seasons where he went 11-4 in the regular season, although the first of those he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. For his career, 50-31 record as a starting quarterback, 89 touchdowns, 84 interceptions. Next, a guy I thought about not including, but I ended up doing so. That is Neil O'Donnell. O'Donnell helped lead the Steelers to the 1995 season, helped lead him to the Super Bowl. Larry Brown won Super Bowl MVP that year for the Cowboys as O'Donnell basically threw 2 passes right to him. The following season, he signed a big deal with the New York Jets, and he never panned out with them there. For his career, 55 and 45 record, 120 touchdown passes, 68 interceptions. So was a guy who did a good job limiting the turnovers. But again, not known as, the Steelers have had some great quarterback play. Terry Bradshaw, Ben Roethlisberger, O'Donnell not on that level. Next, the one guy who won the Super Bowl on here, that is Trent Dilfer. Dilfer became the Ravens starting quarterback about halfway through the 2000 season. Went 7-1 despite somewhat pedestrian numbers. And they beat the Giants in the Super Bowl in that 4-game playoff run. He completed less than half his passes, 3 touchdowns. But much like the Bears, they had an excellent defense. That 2000 Ravens defense was nothing to play with. Probably the only quarterback to get released the following offseason, as after that Super Bowl win, they released him, signed Elvis Gerbach. Joined the Seahawks, later the Browns, 49ers, but never was a full-time starter. 113 touchdown passes, 129 interceptions for his career. And let's end with Rex Grossman. Grossman helped lead the 2006 Bears to the Super Bowl. Although that was more their defense. Also had Devin Hester, if you remember that Super Bowl against the Colts. Led off the game with a kickoff return for a touchdown. Went for naught, though, as the Colts were able to win. That season was really the only one he was a full-time starter, as he started 16 games that season, just 31 more over the other 8 seasons in his career. Completed 55.2% of his passes, 56 touchdowns, 60 interceptions. So there you have it. 8 of the more nondescript quarterbacks to start in the Super Bowl. Again, let me repeat, there's only been 66 guys that do so. So they are part of an awesome list to be a part of. But none of these guys are sniffing the Hall of Fame. How many of these guys did you hear of? Of course, if you're a football fan and in your 20s or 30s, you probably heard of Rex Grossman and Trent Dilfer. Little bit older, I was very young, but I do remember Neil O'Donnell and Stan Humphries, and I remember Tony Eason from Tecmo's Super Bowl. I think he was the backup quarterback to Ken O'Brien for the New York Jets. But again, 8 of the most nondescript starting quarterbacks in Super Bowl history. But again, only one of 66. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.